I'd like to call to order the February 4th, 2026 Citizens Advisory Committee for the Palm Beach Metropolitan Planning Organization. Can we all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Staff, can you please do a roll call?
At this time, I'm only asking those CAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Lily Charlotte Landstrom.
Present.
Aquanette Tyson Thomas is excused. Kate Layden. James Garvin.
Here.
Tay Gaines. Paula Ryan.
Here.
Jim Knight. Lauren Steve.
Here.
Cheryl Murente.
Here.
BJ Mishra. Michael Cuervis.
Here.
James Lafferty.
Here.
Greg Fagan. Albert Richwagon.
Here.
Wen Dang.
Here.
Alex Freeman.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
I believe we have one more that's arrived. Please, for the record, mark Kate Layton is here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented? Any changes? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
Second.
Motion by Albert, second by Wen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Instructions on how to provide public comment are included in the agenda. Staff, have we received any general comments from the public?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. As a reminder for action items on the agenda, there are conflict of interest forms available if needed. At this time, I want to invite any CAC member comments on items not ready on the agenda. Anybody have thoughts to share? All right, seeing no comments, let's continue on. I'd like to invite Matthew Massa, Senior Transportation Planner, to provide the CAC liaison report. Matthew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back, everyone, from the holiday break. It's great to see everyone here. We have a pretty light liaison report, so let me get into it. First off, we have the bicycle-friendly designations, and we want to congratulate the Village of Wellington and the City of Boca Raton. And we invite all the municipalities to learn more at bikeleague.org to get certified as well. The American Walks Community Challenge grant application. This is a grant application that closes on February 10th, and we encourage everyone to look at americanwalks.org. The 2026 MPO call for projects is currently live for major projects and TA applications. We encourage everyone to get those applications in. You might have seen emails from staff in the last week. So just know that February 13th at 5 p.m. we need applications, and you can go to palmbeachmpo.org/funding for more information or contact staff. The 2026 Safe Road Summit will be held this year in Broward from February 26th to the 27th at the Broward County Convention Center. I encourage everyone to sign up and learn more at saferoadsummit.org. And then March is Florida Bicycle Month. The TPA the MPO will be doing some bike tours. So look out for our presentation today about that and to get involved and learn more at palmbeachmpo.org/walk-bike. Transit-oriented communities workshop. We'll be hosting a workshop here at the MPO April 30th from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can register now at palmbeachmpo.org/TOC workshop. And then just as some other reminders, 2026 FDOT Strategic Highway Safety Plan is currently live. And if you want to learn more about that program or that plan, you can go to fdot.gov/safety/SHSP/2026 SHSP. And then currently the countywide transportation master plan is still ongoing. And if you want to learn more about getting involved and how you can help the county improve the plan, go to pbcmoves.com. And then lastly, as always, we encourage everyone to go to the palmbeachmpo.org/participation page. Our public involvement team, Carly, has included a comprehensive web page for how to get involved with the MPO and all of our activities. So we encourage everyone to sign up for newsletters and to sign up for events and workshops. And that is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Matthew. Also for the record, can you show that Greg Fagan is here? Thank you. All right, so are there any public comments on that item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Do any committee members have any comments or questions for the liaison's report? Nope. All right, I know I'm curious about that Trans-Oregon Communities workshop. That sounds interesting. And then also, if we can all just make sure we're staying abreast of the county master plan, as transportation master plan as that comes by, because we probably will be talking about that in the future. Also, for the record, VJ Mishra is here. Thank you. All right, so we have an action item today, item 2A. Motion to recommend adoption of the 2026 safety targets. I want to invite Brian Ruscher, Deputy Director of Multimodal, to present on this item. Brian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Ruscher, Deputy Director of Multimodal, here to present item 2A, our safety performance measures that we track every year annually. I'm happy to answer questions at the end of the presentation, so we'll get through this and then we'll start rolling with discussion. So diving in, the long-range transportation plan that we adopted last year in December, so not, excuse me, 2024 in December, laid out our goals, objectives, and performance measures. These were categorized as safe, efficient, connected, and multimodal and resilient. Each one of these goals has objectives, performance measures, and targets that help us determine our progress in the transportation system overall. So for multimodal, a really good example of that is percentage of roadway network that has coverage with low stress bicycle or pedestrian facilities. For resilient, we look at things like mileage of roadway network that has to do with exposure to sunny day flooding and other metrics. So how can we harden the infrastructure system that we have? What we're talking about today is safety. Safety is the one performance measure that we adopt annually. We bring this to our committees and our board every year, and we make a presentation on it, give everyone an update on where we are as an agency and where we are as a county and how our users going about the transportation system in a meaningful way, and if they can reach their destination safely. So with respect to safety, we have a strong history of setting our target for serious injuries and fatalities on our roadway system at 0. We do not want anybody to be seriously injured. We do not want anybody to be killed while they're walking, biking, using transit, or driving on the roadway system. It seems like it might be an audacious goal. Every day, it seems like in our local newspapers, it seems like it's ever increasingly insurmountable task, but we do see progress being made. And I think that we are really proud of our history with this. And we're not alone. We have for quite some time been in line with what the US DOT defines as their long-term target of 0 serious injuries and fatalities. The state also has a target of 0 serious injuries and fatalities. If you want to learn more about what the state is doing specifically, the Strategic Highway Safety Plan is being updated. We can provide you that link if you're interested in providing comments on it. It's a little late in the process. We expect it to be published here in the near future because this is the plan year that they're hoping to get it in. We also just recently updated our Vision Zero action plan. That's available at the MPO website, mpo.org/safety, if you're interested. So what specifically do we track? So we try to follow very closely what the state utilizes and monitors. What we look at are fatalities and serious injuries as a raw number. We follow the rate of fatalities and serious injuries on the basis of vehicle miles traveled. So for every 1,000,000 miles traveled, we look at that rate compared to the number of people who have been killed or injured, and then the combined non-motorized and serious injuries. We know that there's other ways to normalize that. For example, if the population increases, 10,000, 20,000 every year in Palm Beach County, you'd want to look at what the growth is in relationship to that for each of these categories. We will more than likely be doing that in the near future. You'll probably see that in the governing board presentation. We just got the census data for 2025. So that's where we'll point to look at population as a rate of fatalities and serious injuries. What we are recommending for adoption today is the performance measures that are laid out on the screen, because as I mentioned before, these are the ones that the state tracks as their rate is stated, as their rates are stated, and as the combined numbers are stated as well. What do those look like? So Palm Beach County, what you're looking at on the screen is a table of the countywide performance measures. And we have two sets of annual averages between 2015 and 2019 and 2020 and 2024. We provide these annual 5-year averages to give you a snapshot of how we have changed over time. From 2015 to 2019, annually, there were 177 people killed on average. And that same type of metric from 2020 to 2024, annually on average, we had 202 people killed on our roadway system. So obviously that trend is going up. The proposed target is still 0. That is the only acceptable target for safety that the MPO has determined since 2018. Unfortunately, our fatality rate is also increasing. So if you're thinking about how population has grown, that is kind of like a proxy for vehicle miles traveled, meaning, as there are more people coming to Palm Beach County, there's more people driving. It's not a perfect rate, but it's the one that the state uses. So we try to follow their lead on that. That rate has also increased. I would say, I don't want to say slightly, but it has increased from 1.24 to 1.46. Serious injuries has had a more positive trend in that serious injuries have declined from about 1,096 on average from the previous 5-year annual average to about 843 on the current past 5-year annual average. So that number has gone down, as well as the serious injury rate. So both of those have declined, both the raw number and the rate as we have tracked it. The combined pedestrian and bicyclist serious injuries did increase from the previous 5-year annual average to the immediate past 5-year annual average from 208 annually to 237. So that number is increasing. I'll start with the statewide metrics and mention that that is the one place where our trends diverge. So if you look at the bottom of the chart, the state of Florida has decreased the combined number of pedestrian serious injuries and fatalities, while Palm Beach County has increased. Their numbers are obviously larger because they're tracking a statewide metric than the counties, but the trend is what we're looking for here. And this is where we have divulged from the state. They have a decreasing combined pedestrian and bicyclist serious injury number, whereas we have increasing numbers. Other than that, the fatalities and the serious injuries, both rate and raw number, are the same. Statewide, serious injuries have gone down annually by about 5,000. Fatalities have increased slightly by about 200 between annual averages year over year. So that's the metrics. Generally speaking, the takeaway is such that our fatalities have gone up in the state and the county. They've gone, serious injuries have gone down at the state and the county, but where we have started to see a trend is that our pedestrian and bicyclist serious injuries and fatalities locally have not improved, whereas the state has seen an improvement in those combined numbers. From 2025 and looking forward into 2026, did want to provide you all with an in-depth look at what the MPO is trying to do and what we are hoping that more agencies will take the lead on into the future as we move into this year. So we're still pretty early in 2026. There's still time to plan for our fiscal year 2027 activities, start getting in line for grants. So we'll look at some of those, starting with a really high level look at our emphasis areas. So there's the number of things that the statewide FDOT Strategic Highway Safety Plan tracks. These are the previous 5 years of the major type of crashes that we've had. They categorize crashes in 3 ways. Roadways, first and foremost. Think of that as like your infrastructure crashes. People are leaving the road by a lane departure, or they're having a crash at an intersection. Road users are the types of users, obviously, from ped bike, people who are aging or young, teen drivers, the motorcyclists and motor scooter riders, as well as commercial motor vehicles. And then user behavior has to deal with what was happening during the time of the crash and if there was a contributing factor from a driver or an occupant. So distracted driving falls into this category, impaired driving falls into this category, whether or not a seat belt or child safety harness or seat was provided in the time of a crash, as an example. To no surprise of any of you, we are pretty much one of the worst offenders for crashes involving aging road users, teen drivers, and speeding and aggressive driving. No surprise there. I'm fairly certain that you could probably see that. These numbers are not normalized by population. They break it down by the size of the county, but of the 20 or so counterparts that we have, we're still in the top 2 or 3. Now, there are programs to deal with these issues. The local road safety program is a program I went into detail with the technical advisory committee this morning. There is a grant program that cities in the county can apply for if there's a documented safety need that is outside of the MPO's program. We are responsible to coordinate with you all on that. So if you have questions or you think that you have a burning desire for some safety improvements that you want to see done, let us know and we'll reach out to your liaisons on your Vision Zero committee and on your technical advisory committee to help out with. Another program that deals with road users and user behavior is the High Visibility Enforcement Grant. This program is a law enforcement only grant. It is eligible for concept papers to be produced by police departments and sheriff's departments on how to improve these specific emphasis areas that are laid out on the screen for road users and user behavior. And as I'd mentioned before, it's only available to law enforcement. So it's kind of like a limited thing, but it is something that I'd like to reiterate that the funding is available to you all. And then lastly, something that's not necessarily tracked, but is as it's mentioned on the screen, an evolving emphasis area. Work zone related crashes, drowsy and ill driving crashes, railroad crashes, road and transit crashes, micromobility, and then of course connected and autonomous vehicles are all things that the state between that 2020 and 2025 plan cycle was very concerned about. And I think that they hit the nail on the head directly with the micromobility as well as the connected on autonomous vehicles and the work zones type crashes. Those are all very concerning to see those happening, and we're going to continue to track those through our efforts. Some of the things more specifically, and just one more note on this. If you want to see your city's data, this is all available to you. You can use that QR code and you can look at large cities, small cities, and medium-sized cities, as well as counties. So if you're interested and you want to say, hey, where do we rank in relationship to our peers across the state? That's a really unique place where you can go and see kind of how you compare. So jumping into what the MPO's efforts have been over the past year, we received word in December that the Village of Palm Springs, Town of Lantana, and the City of Boca Raton were all lucky enough to receive additional funding from the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, which the MPO supported. So we're now up to 13.3 million allocated locally in safety implementation and planning and demonstration grants across the county, which we're really proud of. We'll get into Vision Zero and Complete Streets in a little bit more detail. So skip over to our grant support. I have a slide which details our 2 funding programs, but generally speaking, we have about $28.9 million that we're going to start with prioritizing this year for funding that'll be available in about 3 to 5 years out for cities to go out and start constructing safety improvements. So do take note of that. And then lastly, for our safety events and programs, obviously, we do a lot of audits, events to promote materials to the public. We updated our crash dashboard with 2024 data, so that's now updated and completed. We have a speed management study and it's not shown on the screen, but we did update and produce a public involvement report on how to talk about crashes as well, so that we are looking at narratives in the crash report all the way from police report to the news, to how city public information officers use information that comes from these agencies and from, the surrounding context of where a crash happened and things to look for so that we're communicating better about what truly happened in a traffic crash. Some of the benefits of complete streets, I think that you all probably have seen a graphic like this or some version of it. But I think, some of the things that I'd like to point out on this graphic is that first and foremost, if we can start getting kids to walk and bike to school again, we'll have a much, much better and educated population. It would really drive home educational retainment among students, school attendance, and cognitive performance. You have good kids at school, you start by getting them in a healthy and active way, and then they'll come back a little bit more tired, which I definitely need in my kid. But also, if you look at the dollars that we invest in transit, for every $1 we put into the transit system, we get a $5 economic return. So it's really important to drive home that there are benefits to doing complete streets. There are benefits to active transportation, walking and biking infrastructure as a choice in the transportation system that we currently have. And some of the municipalities have already started, enshrining these in their documents. Most of the agencies that have been listed on the screen have all been ranked in the top 10 for the best complete streets policies in the country. They use our template that is available from a policy perspective to adopt at a city level. We have a proclamation, resolution that is able to support cities and getting that adopted, as well as design guidelines for streets. So please do take a look at that and see what some of the communities are doing to help better improve complete streets locally. In addition to that, I mentioned that we have multiple communities working on a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. These communities on the screen have adopted Vision Zero as well, our performance measure for zero traffic related injuries and serious injuries and fatalities. Every agency on the screen here, the 14 have all adopted that as their goal as well. You can learn more at the website at the bottom there, mpo.org/safety. To just give a really brief recap at the things that we've been working on. So on the top left, we recently completed what's called a Think Bike workshop, where we brought in planners and engineers from all over the county. We had them design the network and in specific improvements, which with Dutch cycling and experts. That was a 3-day intensive exercise. We host these types of workshops quite frequently. We mentioned the transit-oriented communities workshop that's coming up at the end of April. That'll be a similar type of effort where we're going to look at what type of development patterns are necessary to try to facilitate less drive alone trips, because I think everybody would be happier if less people were driving by themselves. But it's a matter of setting up our land development regulations to reinforce that and ensure that people have access to transit in a meaningful way. We also conduct mobile tours. So on the top right was our Palm Beach Gardens transit-oriented development mobile tour. So we actually had our chair participate in that, and we're really happy to have others that can join us. We looked at some of the potential, we looked at the development that's coming in Palm Beach Gardens, and it's all kind of concentrated around this train station that is eventually going to land in Palm Beach Gardens, and try to understand how they're building out their street network to better accommodate that. Because once that comes, it'll be a huge transformation for the region. Safety audits, we participate in, I would say, 5 external audits every year. So the one on the bottom left, we participated in on Forest Hill Boulevard. We also are looking forward to hosting what's called a Safe Routes to School workshop, April 2nd, with Dan Burden, who is the Safe Routes to School expert. And we also go out and table a lot at State College, community fairs, and other safety events to ensure that we're moving the community education needle forward. And of course, we design and help communities get projects like the ones on the screen implemented, such as the Clear Lake Trail, Westgate Avenue, Lowson Boulevard and Delray Beach, and of course, North Shore Boulevard, which is a Safe Routes to School project. One last call. I know that none of you are probably putting together an application for our funding programs, but if you're wondering if your community has, you can shoot me an email, and we'll be able to tell you who's come in so far and what they're looking at doing. And if you want us to get you in touch with your TAC liaison, happy to do that. Make sure that they're thinking about projects that they could submit this year as well. See a picture being taken. Okay. And learning more and getting involved. two really important pages that you can go to as your one-stop shops for things related to participating and getting involved on the safety effort. So mpo.org, palmbeachmpo.org/participate. You can sign up for our newsletter, take our survey, learn about upcoming events, send this page to your friends, your family, grandparents, whomever, so that they know that there's a place and a resource for them to try to access the MPO as a proxy for access to your city and your county government. We are not the final decision maker for many of these issues, but we can put you in touch with the right people. That's really what we're trying to do, is ensure that we have the right connections. And then for safety, we have a lot of resources when it comes down to building streets safely, auditing streets to make them more safe, how we can talk about Vision Zero and how we can accomplish no traffic fatalities, and of course, getting kids to school safely. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to request a motion to recommend adoption of the safety performance targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, do any committee members have comments or questions for Brian? Lauren?
Thank you. Quick question on the piece about the high rates of injury for teen drivers. Is there any relationship or collaboration with the school district to improve that metric?
We have been working with the healthcare district on specifically micromobility crashes, because that's been a kind of emphasis area for the Children's Services Council and the healthcare district and the MPO. We partnered up on a micromobility committee to try to get a healthcare district professional out to every high school and middle school. That's kind of like the target audience for the teens and up and coming tweens, to get them more educated about the types of vehicles that they might have access to and how to use them safely. That is our core focus. And then beyond that, the state of Florida has a district liaison in our district, which expands from Indian River County down to Broward County, that focuses on getting out into schools as well and providing like safety brochures, benefits, and other things. So we do have a couple of fronts that we're trying to work. The state of Florida takes on more of like the standardized, like automotive feedback, make sure you're using your car safely, seatbelt, that kind of thing. Whereas we're trying to take a little bit of a more of a specific approach because of what we've seen with e-bikes and e-scooters. I'll caveat this statement first by saying I shouldn't say many e-bike crashes are actually e-motorcycle crashes or e-dirt bike crashes. I don't know if, Mr. Chief, you have you agree with that. But beyond that, when we looked at the data in a study from USF, we saw that about 1 in 8 bicycle crashes are now electrified device crashes in 2024, which is a huge jump from previous years. So we're starting to see that issue becoming more and more of a trend. And it's not just teens, but it's also elderly, younger kids even. I think the youngest I've seen for a crash report for electrified was 5 years old, and the oldest was 83 in Palm Beach County. So it's a pretty stark difference.
Yeah. Just one quick follow-up question. When you use the term micromobility in this context, is that synonymous with like bicycle and pedestrian use and the e-bikes and what have you?
It's an extension of it. Yeah. So pedestrian and bicycle. I mean, when you think about the pedestrian, you're going 3 miles per hour. When you think about the bike, you're going 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Most micromobility devices are 15 to 28. And
Okay.
anything beyond that 28-mile-per-hour metric really is an electric motorcycle or electric scooter in like the Vespa style, not necessarily like a electric wheelchair, for example. So yes, it's kind of synonymous and an extension of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and that conversation, but that's a good clarification question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paula?
Just a quick question. On your first slide, you had the years.
Mhm.
If you could go back to that, I just have a question about the language.
State or the county?
It was their first slide.
Okay.
That had the numbers on it.
One moment.
There.
Okay.
So your categories are average. So you have 177. Is that 177 per year?
Annual average. I apologize. I should probably say annual average. So
So
we
that-
take that 5 year and we normalize it by 5. Yeah. So and combine all those years together, add up those 5 years of crashes, divide it by 5, and that's your annual average.
So there's an annual average of 177 or 202
The increase.
fatalities
yeah.
a year,
to
not
100
over a 5-year period.
Correct.
So over a 5-year period, you're looking at 1,000.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Actually,
lot.
it's probably more now, but yeah, we're still waiting on the final 2025 data.
Wow. Thank you.
Cheryl?
Just a question on, has there been any efforts to like map out where the fatalities and serious injuries happen? And then try to target those municipalities that might be hotspots
Yes.
to then tell them, hey, you can be part of Complete Streets, or giving them any kind of information to move the, move the dial to zero, right?
Great
Be it with like part of Vision Zero or anything like that.
Great question. So earlier on, we were producing crash reports and suggested improvements to cities and counties to evaluate on a crash by crash basis. So we were reading every fatality related report that came out of the area. And what we found was that due to the lack of the resources, one-off crashes that might happen need to be looked at as a whole. So we want to essentially take what is our high injury network, start there. We know that these are the places where we're going to move the needle the absolute most. We can't, design the system to be fully safe, but we can do things like create redundancies and safety to lower speeds, to reduce the force of impact for vehicles with a non-motorized user. And what we evolved that process of generating those crash reports into is actually our crash dashboard. So that dashboard, anybody can go in and filter out your specific area. You can filter out your city, you can look at a county commission district, and then you can look at the specific crash types. If you're really interested in where all the pedestrian crashes are happening in the county, you can see it on that dashboard. And you can get a good sense of where things have happened. This was to supplement the information that we were already producing about the high injury network. We're also working to see if we can get data from the healthcare district for non-traffic crash related, non-traffic crash reported incidents. And what I mean by that is if someone gets hit and they're walking or biking sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they'll just get brought to the hospital by the person that hit them with their car. And we may not have that data because of how the crash reports are generated. So we want to ensure that we are trying to get a holistic picture and that we're using that information. Now, what we do is we have a high injury network, as I mentioned before. We reach out to predominantly the county and the state. That's where our biggest gaps are currently with respect to safety. And then there's a handful of corridors that are municipalities where there's major cut through traffic. There's a lot of maybe pedestrian activity that's occurring that is also conflicting with motorized traffic. And we reach out to those directly. We actually have a study ongoing right now that is going to look at our highest pedestrian, bicycle, and micromobility crashes that we'll use to generate some projects for cities to start working on. Whether the cities are not have the resources to take them on or not is another factor, because we can produce those reports, we can give them ideas for projects, but what we can't do is we don't own or operate anything. So we can't go out into the cities and say, hey, we need to put this jackhammer in the ground right now and pour some new bike lanes. We can't do that because agencies are resource constrained. So we do our best to promote that and to move it, but not everything becomes a project right away.
Wynn?
Yeah, thank you. To respond to Lauren, like many years ago, and I'm sure PBSO still has a program, but they used to do a crash reenactment demonstrations specifically targeting high school kids. And I think it's really interesting because at the time, the studies have shown that it's the youth, that age where they just, kids just started driving. It's where there's like a higher level of crashes among, vehicle crashes among kids at that age. And then, of course, when we looked at the number, Paula, as far as how many deaths that occurred in the state of Florida, it's very alarming because if you look at the CAPCO costs with DOT, there's a cost associated to a serious injury or a fatality. We're looking at $10 million per death. So it's costing society that much more. So when we think about the benefit cost, like it's actually better to invest in infrastructures for safety because we capture that benefit on the back end.
Thank you, Wen. Your expertise is always appreciated. One quick, can we go back to the slide with sorry, Carly, the metrics for the county?
Didn't mean to exit the presentation. I'm sorry to my team. Slide number 5.
Yeah, that one. So real quickly, one thing I think might be helpful for future discussions with this table would be showing it as a percentage of the county population, because the population difference between 1519 and 20 to 24 is significantly different. And
Right.
so while the numbers may have actually increased, and we don't want any of that,
Right.
the percentage of population might have shown a slightly different perception.
It's another way to track. We will more than likely have that slide for the governing board to show as well. We just got the census data for the 2025 numbers.
No.
So we're going to pull that and to show it as well
Okay.
to try to track. We can show it historically, but yeah, we were looking at it together this week and we said this would really help. Vehicle miles traveled is a little bit of a proxy for it because most people are driving. It's an imperfect one.
Yeah.
Population, I agree, would be an additional nice piece of information to have. The recommendation for the committee is still to track what the state tracks, but just to give you a more complete picture, we'll likely have that. So look for the governing board packet when you see it next week on Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Cheryl, Paula, do you have new questions?
I do. In response to what you just said in terms of sharing, is it possible that we could share the information that we're looking at from a dollar standpoint, a monetary standpoint? I mean, if you're talking to the county commissioners, they have a budget and they have expenditures that relate to all kinds of programs. And if they understood the value of, pro forma as opposed to after the fact, it might help them in their policy. I mean, that is an astronomical number.
We'll see if we can pull the methodology. So I'll ask Wen to maybe stick around for a minute afterwards and show me,
Thanks.
kind of a really helpful resource to have. 'Cause I know I've heard that as well. And I just haven't seen the source book to show the methodology behind it. That'd be good to have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help. If you pull all the crashes that occur on county roads in 2025, we'll put a cost to it.
Okay, thank you, Wen.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the committee? All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the 2026 safety targets as 0 from someone, please?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Alex, second by Paula. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry, Ruth, did you need a roll call on that? Or is we
We
good?
do not.
Good, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate that, Brian.
Thank you, Citizens Committee. Appreciate that.
All right, we have 2 informational items on items 3A and 3B. So first one, 3A is a draft fiscal year 2027-28 Unified Planning Work Program. I'm going to invite Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Programs, to present on this item. Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, CAC members. So this is an informational item for you today. This is our Unified Planning Work Program for the upcoming fiscal years of 2027 and 2028. So we'll take any comments that you have. The board is also going to see it this month. And then next month, it's going to come back to you for the action item of recommending approval, any changes to that, and that'll be approved by the governing board. And so the Unified Planning Work Program, this is actually one of our core products as a metropolitan planning organization. So every MPO in the country, all 500 plus of us, have these 4 documents: a transportation improvement program, a long range transportation plan, the public participation plan, and a unified planning work program. And specifically for this unified planning work program, what it really is, it's a 2-year operational plan and budget. And we follow the state fiscal years when we are tracking it and programming. And so this starts on July 1st of this year, which will be fiscal year 2027. And it's going to run all the way to June 30th of 2028. So the end of the fiscal year 28. And within this unified planning work program, as one of our core products, it's required by federal law. We have to meet certain federal guidelines within there. And it outlines our planning process and the funding that goes to all of our planning activities. So specifically for this, you'll see a what, so the deliverables that are going to be accomplished, whether that's the planning studies, whether it's administering these committees and the board, whether it's reviewing projects, that all gets included as deliverables. Who's going to accomplish those deliverables? So is it going to be something that is done by staff? Is it done by partner stakeholders and agencies, or is it done by consultants? When's it going to be completed in that period? And then how much is it going to cost? So there's costs in there associated with how much all these deliverables will cost, as well as the funding source to accomplish those. I'd also like to point out that as an agency that mostly works on a federal reimbursement process, the way this works is this document gets approved by AFDOT and the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration. And so once they get that approval for us to start doing those activities in the new fiscal year, we can start doing those activities, and then we'll seek reimbursement on what we're accomplishing through that monthly. And so that's the invoices that go through that are approved and says, yes, you've been accomplishing these activities that are in the UPWP, and we can reimburse you. So we don't do any activities that are outside of the UPWP. Everything that we do as an agency is in this document. It's going to have 6 tasks in there. This is a consolidation of tasks from last time around. Our current UPWP has around 8 or 9 tasks. We've consolidated a few of our planning tasks and also engage and collaborate to make it easier on our tracking purposes. So some of the deliverables in the sections were combined. I'm going to go through them individually, just high level, and tell you a little bit more about what they are in summary. So engage and collaborate. That is the presentations that we give to outside organizations. It's also our tabling, our newsletter, and any social media that we do. It's also the collaboration aspect of working with our stakeholders and also putting on our committees. So what we would build to today would be collaborate in the new UPWP. Then for short range planning, that involves all of our corridor studies, all of our multimodal studies, our Vision Zero work is all in there. Our review of projects and their design is in short range planning. And it's also where we have the prioritization and the transportation improvement program. Next is long range planning. And in there we have our long range transportation plan. And then also part of this, it's going to start later on in the second part of the UPWP. So the fiscal year 28, so starting in calendar year of 27, is the update to our next long range transportation plan. So we just adopted our prior one, 2050, that we're currently operating under, that living document. We adopted that in December of 24. And then this one's not due till 28, going into 28. So we'll be starting that one in the second part of the fiscal year. Then we have regional coordination. So this is a combination of work with our region in Southeast Florida with Broward and Miami-Dade MPOs. And we come together and we put together a travel demand model with AFDOT, which is a production of travel in our region for all modes. And then it's also where we have our regional transportation plan. And so an important key aspect of this UPWP for the regional transportation plan is we typically take turns as MPOs to build that out and administer it. It's our MPO's turn to administer that. So you'll see some work in there in the second half of the UPWP geared towards our administration and working towards the regional transportation plan. And then we have administer the agency. So that's going to be our day-to-day operations, facilities, rent. It's also a lot of the federal regulations and state regulations we're required to operate under. And so our finances is under there, our human resources, our legal, all get under task 5, administrative agency. And then lastly is agency expenditures with local funds. And so those are specific funds that we receive from our local partners who are on the board at 10 cents per capita, so 10 cents per person in their city or jurisdiction. And that goes towards things that are not typically reimbursable by the federal government. Here's a sort of a layout, a chart for both fiscal year 2027 and fiscal year 28 on where the funding sources are from. And it's about $4.5 million a year. And the overwhelming majority of it is those federal funds that we were reimbursed through monthly. And so that's made up of formula funds. So those are based on population that we get for our urbanized area. And so around 2.5 million of that is planning specific funds to use towards UPWP activities. And then we put another around $1.75 million in surface area transportation funds. So other formula funds that are from the federal government that we make up the majority of our work. Both of those require matches of 20% of local match of 20% because they're federal funds. But we don't really show that as a specific cost associated in the UPWP. That's actually done at a statewide level where it's a soft match using something that's called toll revenue credits. So we already invest so much more into the transportation system to match at a statewide level that it's all handled through that. So there's no out-of-pocket expenses really for locals when it comes to providing that match for the federal funds. Then there's a very small pot of money, around $60,000 a year, relative to our total budget. That's noted as the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. So our MPO staff on the multimodal team, both Brian and Margie, work on that committee, and they'll build towards tasks for that organization. It meets, I believe, 4 times a year, and it oversees the Transportation Disadvantage program. Then there's a 10%, that 10 cents per capita towards non-federal reimbursements that I mentioned. That's around $160,000 a year that goes to things that are not federally reimbursed. So if you were to take those total funding and how it gets programmed for each task, here's a pie chart of that over a 2-year period. So larger ones are the engage the public, engage and collaborate, short range planning, administer the agency, and then a little bit of work is being done on the long range plan as we gear up towards that. So that's going to be in this CPWP that you're seeing, and then in a future one as well. We'll split for those LRTP funds. And so that's why you see a lot of this work still with short range planning when it comes to planning tasks. And then the same data is being shown on this bar graph. This breaks it down by task as well, but it also breaks it down by the specific types of locations that's being spent. So early on, I mentioned we have to track specifically within those tasks and those deliverables, who's doing what. And so for this, it's personnel and consultant, like the majority of those funds, especially in those planning tasks that are heavy. And then outside of personnel and consultant work, under administer the agency, you'll see all those other operating day-to-day work. So travel, direct expenses, supplies, and equipment. Direct expenses are an example of the software, some other direct expenses related to that. This is the timeline to adoption. So right now we're drafts out for public review. It's going to be on the website until next month. It's been submitted already to FHWA and FDOT for review. So hopefully we're going to get some feedback earlier on than this timeline. But it's going to be presented to the committees and board next month. And then once it's adopted, it'll be sent again to FHW and FTA for final comments. And then once they approve that document, we can then get the funds that are authorized, those federal funds that are authorized for next year, and will be operating come July 1st. It's open for public review on our website where people can comment there, and they can also email us. And yep, it's already been up on the website since last month when we set up the committee packets, and it's going to run through March 19th, which is that governing board meeting. And I can take any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have any public comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we have any comments or questions from the committee? Thank you very much, Andrew. Looks great. Next, we're going to be, I'm going to invite Margie Tamblin, Senior Multimodal Planner, to present on the item of Florida Bicycle Month. Margie?
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be talking about Florida Bicycle Month. So Florida Bicycle Month is every March. And the main reason that we have it is to promote safe bicycling, to also educate the public on bicycle laws, and to encourage people to ride their bikes. Each year we encourage municipalities to apply for a proclamation or to have a proclamation for Florida Bicycle Month. Our goal this year is to have 30 proclamations. I encourage you all to reach out to your local organizations or community, your municipalities, to make sure that they have a proclamation in place. It's a great way to promote Florida Bicycle Month and educate the public on that. And each year we do a Florida Bicycle Month bike ride. And this March, we will do ours on Friday, March 13th. The ride begins promptly at 9:15 a.m., but we recommend that you get here early in case you need a helmet, kind of get yourself situated, get some water, things of that nature. So if you could arrive at 9 a.m., that would be great. To sign up for that ride, palmbeachmpo.org/ride. We'd love to see you all there. And if you have an event in your community or know of an event that might be going on, we'd love to promote that event. So if you can send us the flyer, that would be greatly appreciated. And that is all I have. If you're looking for a proclamation or if you need help looking for an event or registering for anything, please let me know. Again, Margie Tamblin, Senior Multimodal Planner with the Palm Beach MPO. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you, Margie. Ruth, any public comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any questions or comments from the committee? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Margie. All right, I was amiss earlier when we were open to comments from the committees that I forgot to mention one thing, two things. I just wanted to thank the MPO staff for hosting a Leadership Palm Beach County's focus program a couple weeks ago. It was awesome to share all the things going on with transportation with those individuals. So thank you all for your hospitality with that. And then also the news that David Deck, the Executive Director of South Florida Regional Transit Authority, will be leaving us. So for new opportunities. So just wanted to, just say that I feel Tri-Rail is better off for his time here. So David Deck, the Executive Director of South Florida Regional Transit Authority. So just want to say thank you for his service. So that being said, any other comments from the committee or thoughts to share? All right, seeing none. Items 4A through 40 are informational only. There will be no staff presentations unless requested by a committee member. Anybody care to talk? All right. Are there any public comments on those items?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. So our next CAC meeting is scheduled for March 4th, 2026. At this time, our committee meeting is adjourned.